I wanted to make a quick movie that's a little more streamlined than the YouTube video that talks about a lot of features for the virtual computing lab. So if you go to HTTPS, make sure you have the S, // iSchool VCL in one word .umd.edu, and ignore a lot of these features, go directly to the sandbox tab. And this is what we're going to use. So there's a couple of images of virtual machines that were pre-baked that are sitting on the VCL website. And we're going to pick one of those for the class and activate it. In other words, have an Amazon machine load that image and start up the virtual Windows machine in our case so that we can use some of the software there. So there's Sandbox 1 and Sandbox 2. There's different software that's preloaded in these. We're going to use Sandbox 1 because it has some of the tools we're going to use in the first part of the class. Google Refine, QGIS, Neo4j, Abby Fine Reader, etc. It could be that you have a student view of this, so my guess is that you may not be able to create an 8 gig 2 CPU machine. I'm going to select that one. I think in your case, just pick whatever's there or use the default. So we're going to create the machine here. I'm going to let it spin for a few seconds. And when this returns, I'll make a few comments. Okay, so what you see popped up here is essentially a little message with a spinning wheel that says that the machine is being initialized. So you'll get a hang of it. You'll see that a machine goes through various states. You create it, it's being initialized, it exists. Once it exists, you can start up that virtual machine or stop it. There's a timer, so if you're idle, I think for half an hour, it'll stop the machine automatically and you'll have to restart it. The beauty is that everything you do in that virtual machine is preserved. The state of what applications you had open, what data you had downloaded into it, persists across start and stops. The final stage, if you're in stop mode, you can actually remove the machine. So you're deactivating that image altogether. If you do that, then all the data you have will be lost and you'll have to recreate the machine, initialize it, and start with a fresh machine, which is something you might want to do. So that's a little bit the life cycle of the existence of a machine. There's a little message here that says 15 to 20 minutes. That's static. This could come back in 5 minutes. So I'm going to pause the recording of this video and I'll come back when the machine is ready to be started. A little bit like one of these cooking shows where you pull the dish out of the oven. Okay, we're back. I think it took like 5 minutes. So once your machine is initialized, this is the type of message you'll see. It'll have your name, your login, so it'll be unique to you. And you'll see this little message of download RDP file, which is remote desktop initialization file. If you're on this, so this is the little tricky part. This is why I wanted to make this little video. If you're on a Windows machine, chances are this will work. If you click on download RDP, it will download a little cookie and try to start up a default application called Remote Desktop Application. That's the app that's going to allow you to connect to the virtual server machine in the Amazon cloud. It doesn't always work on the Mac, so I use a different remote client, and there are 3 or 4 different remote clients, um, several of which will probably work on the machine you're using, several of which won't. So there's a little bit of trial and error, and it has to do with just versioning of different operating systems and remote desktop apps. So there's an alternate method, which is you copy that machine address here and you launch your remote desktop client independently and paste that back in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to search for an alternate client, which I had to download on my Mac, which is called Microsoft Remote Desktop. So let's launch that. There it is. This particular client, it's a little strange. I think if you right click on the machine name, actually if it's not there, you can probably edit one of these. So what you'll see for this particular client, it's a little tricky. You would paste not in the connection name, it's counterintuitive, but in the PC name. So if I zero that out and paste this unique machine address, put in administrator, that's what you have here, and the password, it's the same for everyone, but your machine is unique. INST742 @UMD. I'll actually type it. INST742 @UMD. And then just X this. I think if I right click and I start it, ignore this message. And there we are, it's initializing. So I'm going to resize this so that it's in my recording window. Give it a second. Mission accomplished. We are in a Windows 10 machine. And this is going to be the little sandbox we're going to use. There's a bunch of software preloaded here. It's not the fastest machine. I apologize for that. But we'll be able to get through the use of some interesting software. Abby Fine Reader right here is actually one of the tools we will first use starting next Tuesday. So there'll be more information on that. I'm going to log out, so you could certainly log out here, disconnect, shut it down, restart, or you can simply exit. So when I leave here, my machine is still in this state. It'll time out after a while. I think if I stop the machine, let's see what happens. If I stop the machine on my own volition, this is the state. So you'll see I can restart it, or I can remove the machine altogether. Don't remove this unless you want to start from scratch. If you ever see this message, you'll want to restart the machine. It's going to want to reinitialize it. Okay, this reinitialized, took another 5 minutes, and I think what you see is that the machine address is different each time you restart the machine, but I believe the state of your machine will be the same. So we'll double check on those things. I'm looking forward to your feedback. If you could try to play with this a little bit before Tuesday and let me know how things are going, and if you're encountering any unexpected challenges, we'll try to sort that out. Thank you very much.